All right, time now for our business update. Brian Quinn joins me. The G20 summit kicking off today with international trade, big part of the agenda.
World leaders convening in Hamburg today. They face the difficult task of trying to find consensus on international trade at a time when the U.S. seems to be pulling ever further back from multilateral free trade agreements. Julia Kim takes a look in this report.
While G20 leaders fly the flag for free trade, President Donald Trump is looking increasingly isolated. After turning his back on the international community by pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord, Trump's protectionist stance has been roundly criticized.
If the strongest power wants to be even stronger, this power must lead the world. If the strongest power is saying only America, it doesn't remain the strongest power. It becomes less important.
In January, Trump abandoned talks on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a deal which sought to tear down trade barriers among the 12-nation group. One of those countries, Japan, has struck out on its own, sealing a free trade deal with the European Union on Thursday, both making a defiant stance against protectionism. Ahead of an informal meeting with Trump on the eve of the summit, German Chancellor Angela Merkel reaffirmed Europe's commitment to globalization, but said she was prepared to compromise.
We have our agenda here, and there are different ideas about globalization. And we will now see what we can achieve together. I do believe that globalization can be shaped in a way that makes it a win-win situation. There doesn't necessarily have to be losers where there are winners.
Trump is expected to break with tradition this year by not signing the anti-protectionist pledge routine at G20 meetings.
And last day of the trading week, Brian, how are markets looking?
European index is opening flat Friday, with investors looking ahead cautiously to news coming out of the G20. Many also expecting a tightening of monetary policy from central banks worldwide, despite some cautious minutes from June's European Central Bank meeting. Asian indexes mostly losing ground after a weak close on Wall Street Thursday. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index down around 0.3 there, with losses in the information technology sector. The Nikkei and the Kospi are down around 0.3. The Shanghai Composite making some modest gains to end out the week. Let's take a look at some more of today's top business headlines. Samsung is indicating record profits for the second quarter of the year. The Korean electronics giant saying profits likely rose 72% from the previous year, beating analyst estimates as rising prices in memory chips helped to boost margins. Earlier in the week, Samsung said it would invest nearly $19 billion in South Korea to expand its memory chip production lines. Berkshire Hathaway Energy has announced it will acquire Encore Electric Delivery Company. Encore is based in Dallas, Texas. It's one of the U.S.'s largest power transmission networks. Berkshire Hathaway Energy is a subsidiary of billionaire Warren Buffett's investment conglomerate. It says it will pay $9 billion in cash for Encore's bankrupt parent company. And Mondelez says a June cyber attack could take a chunk out of its profits. The snack maker says it's making progress to restore computer systems after the, quote, Petya malware attack, but that the incident could cut roughly 3% out of its revenue growth for the second quarter. Earlier, UK consumer goods maker Reckitt Benckiser said it expected to take a £110 million hit from the attack.
And finally, for business, a novel approach to collecting tax in Norway. Tell us more.
Yes, in June, the Scandinavian country introduced a new option to their tax code, voluntary contributions. Now, that doesn't mean you pay only what you wish. It means that if you want to throw in a little bit extra on top, you're free to do so. Oil-rich Norway has been hit by an economic shock with the recent tumble in global crude prices, leading the country's center-right government to cut taxes and dip into its sovereign wealth fund. Bloomberg reporting that left-wing opposition politicians objected to the tax cuts, so the government added the optional extra tax for those who really want to chip in more. Norway already has some of the highest taxes in the world, with a top rate of just under 47%. The voluntary contributions, not a huge hit. So far, they've collected the equivalent of around $1,300 US, which is not a lot.
Who are we to criticize? Would you pay more if you had the chance?
You know, we get the option to check off an extra $2. I'm going to be honest with you, I've never done it.
Brian Quinn with a roundup of the business news.